Good afternoon. So good to have the opportunity to speak with the class today. This is our next to last read aloud. Takia did this one for us, and I'm so appreciative. It's one of my favorite books. And I will be reading from her lesson plan and trying to enact her interactive reading plan on the book called Something Beautiful by Sharon Dennis Wyeth and illustrated by Chris K. Sopenpeat. So I'm going to first go to the document that Takia did such a fine job on. And she tells us in the opening, and of course this is the first read, that the problem in Something Beautiful is that the little girl sees that everybody else has that one thing that makes them happy, and she wants to find her something. And in this story, you are going to meet a little girl who wants to find something beautiful, and everyone else around her seems to be satisfied with where they are and what they have. Takia is spending some time actually breaking down the vocabulary in this book, and she wants us to really tune in to beautiful. She gives us a definition, and she says it's pleasing to the senses or the mind. She also tells us that she's going to direct our attention to the portion of the story and say, I'm thinking the little girl is going to try to find her something beautiful. Then she will go on to ask, why do you think she wants to do that? Which is a great introduction, a great opening during reading, and it's also very analytic because you're asking them, why do you think? Her technique here is she is doing her think aloud process in her introduction. Then she goes on to the after reading, and we see that in the after reading we often ask a why question, and we're trying to help children infer and consider a question by using illustrations that support their thinking, particularly if you can use a double spread in a book. And a double spread is just opening up the book flat so that you can see both pages. The illustrations often show us that we can say what I'm remembering from this illustration right here. You can refer to those illustrations without ever going back and referring to the words in the story. So you're teaching children that the illustrations in the book support the language in the book, and the language in the book will also support the artwork in the book. What is interesting for those of you who are really enjoying children's picture books is that the author and the artist may or may not know each other. When you sell your book to a publisher, they choose the artist who will do the work. And generally, the artist reads your work and tries to do his or her best job at representing your thinking based on your words and your storyline. Takia tells us that after reading, she will point out that kids like playing with toys. Why didn't she pick a toy or something that kids play with often? And she's actually saying, I'm thinking. Again, she's using that thinking aloud strategy. I'm thinking that reason that she didn't was because those things weren't beautiful to her, and she wanted something that made her really, really happy. Okay, now I'm going to start reading the book, and we know that when we do the first reading, the teacher is in primary control of the book and does most of the reading work. Then he or she releases a little bit of responsibility to the readers on the second read and lets them join in more. She may have them doing some movement. She may have them doing some choral reading. She may ask them to reflect and think about what they had talked about on the first reading and what they were thinking about now that they had read the book twice. Then on the third reading, she might actually just turn everything over to them and pick out some key pages in the book and do a quick reflection with them, and then let some of them actually tell parts of the story that they enjoyed and what they thought that the author's message was in the story. Thank you so much. See you in a minute.